Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Players Own YouTube channel. It's that time once again. Premier League predictions are back. After a weekend off for the FA Cup action, we are back with some midweek games, and boy, have we got some massive ones, including the two teams behind me. The North London derby, massive game for both those sides in terms of how they continue to go this season. Can Man City continue their great run of form, and do Chelsea get back to winning ways? A lot of good games to look forward to this midweek action. Cannot wait to dive into it. Looking back quickly at the last before we get into this week's action, I had 125 points of our prediction points going into it, added 7 more. It's not too bad. Takes a total to 132 after 20 game weeks. And if you're new around the channel here or you wanted to join along and predict alongside me, the point system works. 3 points for correct scoreline, 1 point for the correct result predicted, and obviously 0 points for neither. So looking to 250, if you're new to the channel, looking to 250 come season's end. So we're just sort of at that rate right now. I want to keep going. Some tough games to predict this match week. With that being said though, let's get straight now in to match week 21 and the Premier League predictions. Our first game is at the G-Tech Stadium as Brentford take on Manchester City. Brentford last time out, fantastic. A 5-0 win versus Southampton in the Premier League. But on the weekend, a very disappointing 1-0 loss to Plymouth Argyle, the bottom team in the Championship. So, a little bit of work to be done here. And they've had a bit of a rough spell in recent weeks, Brentford. Only 1 win in their last 5 Premier League games. Only 4 points picked up in that time as well. And that rock and roll attacking football, which they've been so known for this season at the G-Tech, has started to slowly wither away. So it's back to fundamentals for me with Brentford in this game here. Yes, the attacking football is all good and well and good, but against Man City, a team that's improving, a team with dangerous players like Savinho, Foden, Haaland, Kevin De Bruyne, you've got to be a bit more better defensively. And a lot of injuries at the back there. Sepp van den Berg, Collins have to have a big performance there. You're looking, let's build foundation from the back line. Revert back to Brentford of a few years ago, where it'd be built from the back, transitional play. That's when in Burma and Visser, Kevin Schade look their best when they get in transition. I think a key to that's going to be Mikkel Damsgaard, someone who I've loved watching this season in that sort of central area of the park. He can be the player that can get the counter-attacks going, that can exploit the Kovacic one-out defensive holding midfield position, and that's how Brentford can get at Man City in this game here. I think forget about playing in the front foot and possession and throwing numbers forward. Think about setting up defensively and getting in transition. That's how teams have beaten Man City, taken points off Man City this season. Brentford have to go about it that way in this game here for me. Looking at City beat West Ham 4-1 last time out, smashed Salford City in the FA Cup. They're back in some good form here. It's 16 goals in their last 5 games, 3 wins on the bounce, looking like the Man City of old. Transfers about to come into their club as well. It's very, very positive right now across the citizens. I think for me, once again, I've said it the last sort of 4 or 5 prediction videos, Savinho is the key. He is that difference maker. He's that spark player. Like he did at Girona last season, we're starting to see that now in the Premier League, skipping past players, dropping the shoulder, getting balls into the box, being tricky on the ball, and showing that flair which I knew him from last season. I think one of my favourite players to watch last year at Girona, the way he linked up with Dovbyk, we thought it would come much quicker this season with Erling Haaland, but we're starting to see it in recent weeks. Goals, assists, chance creation, creating own goals as well. He's a difference maker right now. Seeing Foden come back as well. But I think for me, it's all about Savinho. Getting the ball as much as possible, make things happen down that right-hand channel, and then obviously force-feed Erling Haaland because goals are coming back into his game all of a sudden, and you create chance for the big Norwegian. He's going to find the back of the net. So force the ball into those 2 players there, and good things will happen. City have won the last 3 matches between these 2 sides, and I see it continuing here. Gone with the Man City 3-1 win away from home. A lot of goals for them in recent weeks, and they continue here in this one here. And Brentford cannot stop Man City's rage at the current point in time. Our next game keeps us in London. We go to the Blues. Chelsea take on Bournemouth in what is one of the most interesting games that come from this midweek match day. A lot of interesting matchups in this one here. Chelsea obviously coming off the back of that 1-1 draw to Crystal Palace. They've been struggling in terms of finishing off chances in the final third. They went to that Neto, Sancho, Jackson, Palmer front four, which I wanted to. They did that. They looked much better. But again, finishing chances off has been the problem for them. Someone outside of Cole Palmer has to find the back of the net. So I chuck it onto Jackson, who's struggled in recent weeks. I chuck it onto Jadon Sancho and Neto to be a little bit more clinical in the final third because the build-up play is there. The pace and precision, the movement has been there. It's about that final finish in front of goal, that final piece of quality. It just avoided the side in recent weeks. Last 4 games, no wins. 7 goals in the last 5 games for Chelsea. Their standards are 10, 11 goals in the last 5 games. They've dropped off a little bit, and it's all at that end of the pitch. Yes, they've got some injuries defensively, but for me right now, it's about going forward and finding the back of the net. Chelsea, when they attack well, they play well. It's pretty simple. That's the correlation there. A key plays in this one for them, also in front of the behind that front three there, Gusto and Cucurella at the fullback positions have to be very, very good. We know Bournemouth like to play with width. They like to play with pace down the flanks. Those two have to be switched on to what Bournemouth will do in those wide areas. Looking at Bournemouth, a 1-0 win versus Everton, 5-1 win versus West Brom in the Cup. They are firing at this current point in time. Iriola's playing some great football. We're thinking about top half at this current point in time for Bournemouth, but they've had a massive setback. Evan Nilsson's gone down injured. Also, the backup striker, Enes Unal as well. So that void up top is going to be a big void to fill. Will Semenyo going down the middle? Will they put Clive as a false 9? It's yet to be seen. Or will they just sign a striker in January here? There's a lot of questions. But going to this game here, there's a lot of pressure therefore onto the wide areas. Semenyo, Dango Utara, Clive, Tavernier, whoever plays out there, they're going to have to be on song. And it's going to be a key for this Bournemouth side. They like to play with width, but without a striker now who can press from the front, a lot of emphasis goes to those wide areas there. And a massive game, I think, for me, from the two centre-half. Hoyson, alongside Zaban, has been one of the most promising centre-back partnerships in the last 5 or 6 weeks, but Chelsea's a different kettle of fish, especially with how that midfield works. Caicedo, alongside Enzo, they keep the pressure on back lines, and Cole Palmer's a man you have to shut down. So look to those two centre-halves to have big games for Bournemouth in this one here. I think it's going to be a great game, this one. Great moments. Whoever can take their chances in front of goal will be key for me. Both sides can be wasteful in front of goal, but I'm going with an exciting draw. Going with a 2-2 draw in this one here. Chelsea not enough to go up the line. Bournemouth a famous point on the road at Stamford Bridge. We remain in London for our next game as West Ham take on Fulham in an all-London affair here. Looking at West Ham, improved in the FA Cup last night, a 2-1 loss to Aston Villa with Graham Potter now in charge, but last time out a 4-1 loss to Man City. That saw the end of Lopetegui, and a new start here. New manager bounce can be expected under Graham Potter. We know there'll be a little bit of emphasis on structure and progressive football and intensity in the final third. That's a positive for West Ham because 4 goals in the last 5 games. You're lacking Nicholas Füllkrug, obviously lacking Bowen and Antonio. So a lot less forward options, but a system that will revolve around attacking football. So look to Kudus, look to Somerville, Lucas Paquetá to be the key players to instigate that attacking football here. And at home, expect the fans to get behind this team. They need a good second half of the season to push themselves towards that mid-table there. And I think it could start in this game here for me. As I said, though, no strike up there. Maybe Danny Ings plays up top. If he is up there, he's going to have to be clinical because West Ham, as I said, are not really known for their chance creation. Graham Potter will try and improve that, but this season, they've already had the structure implemented on them, so it's going to take some time to implement that new system. So Danny Ings, when he gets those chances, has to be clinical in the final third, especially against this Fulham side, who we know can be dangerous. Looking at Fulham, 2-2 draw to Ipswich the last time out. It's been very disappointing in recent weeks. A lot of draws to bottom half opposition, so look to this game. It's going to be a challenging game. A 14th, 15th play with West Ham that hasn't been in great form. We expect them to show up. Fulham don't like to play these bottom half teams, so it's going to be a real nice nitty-gritty battle in there. They're unbeaten in the last 9 games, but for me, it's sort of built on the back. Fulham, again, another team that looks really, really good when they're strong at the back foundationally, whether it be a back 3 or back 4. Anthony Robertson back there, but most importantly, the 2 centre-halves we have to stand up, Bassey and Anderson. They were playing very, very well at the start of this unbeaten run. They've sort of faded away, and we're seeing more draws in the game. So let's be more solid defensively, keep the clean sheet, and you can go nick a goal. Jimenez, Muniz, Pereira, Iwobi, these creative players, Traore, there's attacking talent there. They need to keep more clean sheets so to make sure they get 3 points on the board. In this one, though, I think it's going to be a bit of a scrappy game. Graham Potter wants to implement his style. Silva and his men, they travel okay, but they haven't been in great form recently. So I'm going with a 1-1 draw in this one here. Both sides happy to take a point. But for me, West Ham, a team to improve this season. Now we come to the big one at the City Ground. Nottingham Forest hosts Liverpool. First place taking on third place in the Premier League. Who would have thought we'd be saying this all those months ago at the start of the Premier League season? But this is a blockbuster affair. Nottingham Forest, the only team to beat Liverpool this season in the Premier League, and they'll want to go 2 from 2 in this one here at the City Ground with that home crowd support. It's going to be a massive game. Looking at Forest, 3-0 domination of Wolves last time at the Molineux, an informed Wolves team at that as well. And they went there and just played them off the park. It's now 7 consecutive wins in all competitions, 10 goals scored in the last 5 games, and 9 clean sheets, making them the best defensive side in the Premier League. And that's where I'm going to start their breakdown for them. They've got to be solid yet again defensively. Milenkovic and Murillo, my 2 favourite centre-back partnership in the Premier League. They have been solid all season long. They went under the radar the first 10 to 12 games, but now they're recognised. Can they do it here yet again against Liverpool? They were key last time out to beat Liverpool. It was built in defensive football. Matt Sells in the sticks as well has to be really, really solid yet again. But that's your foundation. That's what you build from. That's where your counter-attacking football comes from. And we know Liverpool, they like to throw numbers forward. And in recent weeks, they've been a bit more erratic. We know Liverpool to be the controlled team under Arne Slot, but in recent weeks, they've had to throw numbers forward. They've had to commit numbers and play a bit more erratic and out there and expansive. And if you're sold up defensively, that's when the likes of Alanga and Hudson-Odoi, Morgan Gibbs-White can make things happen on the counter-attack. So it's all built from those two at the back there, being rock solid. Matt Sells in behind them, making some big saves. And for me, another underrated view is coming down and exploiting Liverpool's right-hand side. Mo Salah, Trent Alexander-Arnold. We saw Manchester United at will go on that left-hand side. So yeah, you look to that left-hand side, Nico Williams, you look to Hudson-Odoi. Guys in fantastic form against Liverpool players that are not really good and accountable defensively. That could be a point to exploit. So look to those two to be really, really important in this game here. Almost force-fed the football, especially in the counter-attack. And you get likes of Woods and Anthony Alanga spreading the game with their runs in behind as well. It could be really dangerous for Nottingham Forest there. But again, built off defence. Looking at Liverpool, a 2-2 draw in the Premier League last time out versus Manchester United. Then that loss 1-0 in the Carabao Cup, followed by a bounce-back 4-0 win over Accrington Stanley on the weekend. It's been a bit of a mixed bag. And as I said, it's gone away from what we've known Liverpool under Arne Slot. It's been a bit more erratic, a bit more chaotic. When we know Liverpool under Arne Slot at their best, it's controlled football. It's 1-0, 2-0 victories, building defence and control throughout that game. I feel like they need to get that back, and it's going to come through Dominic Szoboszlai and his pressing. I know Nathan, the podcast, always says that he's one of the most underrated footballers at Liverpool because of his work off the ball. His pressing off the ball, his work when he runs and presses that front line up, or he drops back in and supports that midfielder, Gravenberch and McAllister. I think those two in midfield, they hold the key. Because Nottingham Forest is so good in transition, they can break the game up with like Anderson, Yates in there, make it a scrap. But if Liverpool's players in there can win the ball back for Nottingham Forest, keep them penned in, and then when they keep the ball, keep the ball, goes a long way from Liverpool controlling the pace of the game, keeping possession, getting Liverpool on the front foot, and not being exposed to that Nottingham Forest counter-attack. So a massive game for Dominic Szoboszlai, and obviously that front line have to be a little bit more clinical than they were in recent games. Salah, Gakpo, Jota up there have to be much better in front of goal, especially than what they were versus Manchester United, but also create chances for these guys. It wasn't that great, the chance creation versus Manchester United. They sat in nice and deep and forced Liverpool sideways and backwards. Got to try and get forward, got to try and make that incisive pass to break the back line apart. In this game here, what do I see happening? I think it's going to be one of the most entertaining games. cagey early on, it's going to get more open as the game goes deeper, but I'm seeing a Liverpool win here. They're back to their best defensively. I've gone with a 2-0 Liverpool win. Nottingham Forest will be challenging, but Liverpool too much quality for me in this one. We move up north for our next game as Everton take on Aston Villa. David Moyes back at the helm at Goodison Park, and they look to bounce back here, Everton. They went down and lost 1-0 away from home at Bournemouth last time out. Moyes at the helm, all of a sudden there's some confidence there, and they need that. 3 goals in the last 5 games in all competitions, really struggling in front of goal and lacking that real sharp edge. And without McNeil there, I'm looking to other players, Lindstrom, Decore in the final third, to help Ndiaye and Dominic Calvert-Lewin at top create chances. Moyes, as much as he will be a more pragmatic football manager, he still wants that front-footedness. He still wants that counter-attacking movement and chance creation when you're on the ball. So look to other players, Decore, as I said, Ndiaye up top there alongside Lindstrom, to be a bit more progressive, take the game on, and potentially try and expose his Aston Villa back line. Looking at Villa, a 2-1 win versus Leicester last time out in the Premier League. Solid, but again, far from their best. And I think against a very pragmatic, defensively oriented Everton side, Morgan Rogers, for me, is the difference maker. He is the chance creator. He can create for himself, create for others. He breaks back lines apart. He is the ultimate player in these type of games. So he needs to be really, really big in this game here. And then look to that midfield of Kamara and most likely on Amadou Onana coming back into the side to face his former side, to be those keys, those cogs in the middle of the park, keep Everton at bay and keep Aston Villa on the front foot, pen Everton in, create chances aplenty, and eventually that great wall of Everton will eventually break down. So those players in the centre of the park will be pivotal for Aston Villa in this game here. To be honest though, it could be heroics to win this game for either side. New manager bounce with Everton, home ground, Moyes coming back. Crazy things can happen. But I know Aston Villa, I know how they can struggle in these games here, but I know how they want to bounce back, and I want to make a point under Unai Emery towards the back end of the season here. I've gone with an Aston Villa win, but just 2-1 for me in this game here. They'll have to be heroic, they'll have to be tough and robust, but they'll get the win for me away from home. We head over to the King Power for our next game as Leicester take on Crystal Palace. Obviously, Leicester losing 2-1 last time out at Aston Villa. They'll want to bounce back, and they got that bounce back performance, 6-2 winning over QPR in the FA Cup on the weekend. However, I keep bringing this stat up. No clean sheet now in 15 games. Defensively, it's been all over the place. But I feel like in this game here, it's not about that side of the game. It's about getting on the front foot. Crystal Palace is a unit that has turned their season around playing defensive football, a bit more pragmatic and conservative. If you're Leicester, you're at home, get in the front foot, try and pin Crystal Palace in and get some chances created. I'm looking to deeper line playmakers like Winks and Samare. Yes, you've got a job to defend as those deep line midfielders, but you also have to create that overlap, spread the ball wide. I'm looking to Mavadidi on the flanks to try and get at Crystal Palace. I think playing with width and playing those wide areas will be the key, and chance creation from deep areas. That's going to be the key for me for Leicester City. Obviously, Jamie Vardy up top, he is the guy for Leicester City. He makes things happen. He can turn that game over and make it his game in many regards, but he's an older player. He can't keep doing it for 90 minutes. You need support players around him, whether it be Ayew, whether it be El Kanous as well. Have to have other players step up in this game and support the big strike up there for Leicester City. Looking at Palace, a 1-1 workmanlike draw versus Chelsea last time out. It's starting to clip now for Crystal Palace. 2 wins, 2 draws and a loss in their last 5 games, but only 5 goals scored. So it's pretty clear the correlation there. It's built off defensive performances. Lacroix alongside Gahey at the back there. It's been superb in recent weeks, and Chalobah's improving his defensive game back there as well. It's a much more solid back three. And in recent weeks, we're seeing Ezra and Mateta link up quite nicely. Obviously, they linked up for the goal versus Chelsea as well. It's just starting to look like the Crystal Palace of old. But yet again, it's going to be building that defensive structure, keep Leicester at arm's length, and then get that ball on the break. Spread the game, use the wing-backs, Munoz and Mitchell in there, and then try and get the ball to Ezra and Mateta and let those two do what they do best. I think their individual skill and their unique ability on the break will be the difference in this game here. Leicester City are a solid side, but I just don't like their ability to break a team down. Crystal Palace have built defensively well. That will be their backbone, and that'll be why they'll get the win here for me. I've gone with a 1-0 win here for Crystal Palace on the road. Another massive victory as they continue to climb the Premier League table. Newcastle and Wolves are our next game here from St James's Park. Newcastle, they are firing right now. A 2-1 win last time out in the Premier League versus Spurs. A massive cup win on the weekend as well. It now makes it 8 consecutive wins for Newcastle United. 12 goals in their last 5 Premier League games. You got Isak's incredible run of scoring in the Premier League. It's 8 games consecutive now. He scored a goal in. But for me, take the attention away from the front line. Yes, they've been fantastic, but boy, that midfield has been superb. Joelinton, Bruno Guimaraes, Tonali. It is almost like terrier stuff in there. They are nipping at the feet of midfielders and defenders amongst the Premier League, pressing high up the pitch, controlling the middle of the park. And as we always say here in this channel, if you control the centre of the park, if you control the midfield battle in Premier League games, you go on and win probably 80% of those battles. So it's been fantastic, the turnaround, the balance in there between going forward and sending numbers forward and attacking and then defending and covering off and working with and off each other has been just superb this season. And they're going to be, I think, the difference makers in this game here versus a strong Wolves side. Yeah, they got beaten last time out 3-0 versus Nottingham Forest, but they've been very, very good under Pereira. That's the only loss they've had under the new manager this season. It's 9 goals in the last 5 games for the side. They have that quality in that midfield area as well. Andre alongside João Gomes as well. They're going to have to be at their tip-top best to match the Newcastle energy and pressure there as well. And I think for them to find a way into this game, it's those wing-backs, the overlapping runs, the width, get on the break, win the ball back in deep lying or midfield areas, and spread the ball. Newcastle's backline has been a fantastic touch, but if you get the ball into wide areas and spread and stretch that backline, that's the opportunity you have to get goals and get in behind. And Strand Larsen and Cunha can do their thing in the final third there. Do I give Newcastle, Wolves, any hope? Probably not. Newcastle are in tip-top form. I see them win this game 3-1. They've got the talent, they've got the quality, and they've got the informed striker in the Premier League at this current point in time. So Newcastle 3, Wolves 1 for me. We now come to the big one, the North London derby, Arsenal and Spurs from the Emirates. This is a massive clash for both these sides here. You look at Arsenal, it's been a crazy week for them. They drew last Premier League game versus Brighton, then they went and lost the cup tie at home versus Newcastle, and then went out on penalties versus Manchester United on the weekend as well. It's been a week to forget for them, but they have to bounce back. And for me, the one player who's been underperforming, Kai Havertz, he has to bounce back. Like, it's a must. They have no striker option. Jesus now down injured. Obviously, Saka's out injured. Odegaard's struggled in recent games. The one man they've got up there right now is Kai Havertz, and he has to brush aside the last week and get at it, because right now Arsenal are struggling in front of goal. 6 goals in their last 5 games. Inconsistency seen in all their last 4 games. Good passages, poor passages, just forgettable passages. It's just all over the place at this current point in time. Set piece FC is looking realer and realer each week, because the weeks they don't get goals from set pieces, they're drawing, they're losing, they're not getting a result. And the last game versus Brighton, a fantastic opening 30 minutes, and they just faded away. They need to be more competitive. Yes, the squad depth is being tested, but also Spurs' squad depth is being tested as well. They need to be at it from minute 1. Pressurise this Spurs side, test their back line. I think for me, it comes from Martinelli. He's probably one of the only recognised forwards up top there that has some sort of history of form. Hasn't been that great this season, but he has to turn up. Odegaard out of form, Havertz out of form, Trossard barely being good. No Ranieri, no Saka. Martinelli, it has to fall into you. You have to make the difference in this game here. So look to him to stand up to try and lead this side in the final third, because simply put, defensively they're okay. Midfield, they've been all right, but going forward, just pathetic. So you have to stand up. Someone has to do it. Trossard, Martinelli, somebody has to do it. I feel like Martinelli, it has to be his game here in the North London derby. Looking at Spurs, obviously that 2-1 controversial loss last night to Newcastle. They made it tough and tight for them. Then they went and won versus Liverpool midweek in the EFL Cup. And then on the weekend, went to extra time versus Tamworth. So it's been all over the place for Spurs. That is Spurs, to be honest, though, under Ange Postecoglou. Super inconsistent, hard to read. I think for me in this game here, you look to those young players. Bergvall and Archie Gray, for me, across the last month or so, have been the best players at the club. They've been the most consistent players. And it seems to be a common thing in this modern era of the Premier League, young players leading their sides. And I feel like those two in the spine of the team are going to have to be at their best yet again. Bergvall to match the Arsenal quality in the middle of the park, and then Archie Gray to be that leader at the back, to make those massive challenges and keep the likes of Martinelli, Havertz, Trossard at bay. It's a big ask, because we know how vulnerable Spurs are in transition, how vulnerable they are when they give the ball away, but look to those two to be the rocks in the core of the side there to lead Spurs, because if they can tighten up defensively, we know in the final third, Kulusevski's being great touch. Son and Solanke have to have big games here. They're experienced players. They have to stand up in the final third and make things happen. So look to those two also to lead the line and make a difference versus a very, very good Arsenal back four. For me here, it's going to be a battle of the pace. Arsenal want a slow pace, a controlled pace. They want to own the possession. Spurs want back and forth. They want energy. They want speed. They want transition. So whoever can control the pace in their favour is likely to get on top of the game. But then about who wins the game is who's more clinical. Both teams are very wasteful in the final third, make mistakes. So for me, whoever's more clinical in front of goal can take their chances, will go and win this game for me. And with that being said, I see it being Arsenal. I think it's going to be a very, very tough game. But I think at home, they need to bounce back. They've got the winners on the side. I've got them edging it just 2-1 here for me. Ipswich and Brighton is our penultimate game. Ipswich been good in recent weeks. A 2-2 draw to Fulham last time out. They're scoring more goals at a greater tick as well. 7 goals in the last 5 games. They've been very competitive with 2 wins in the last 5 games as well. And I think in this game here, yes, attacking football is key, but it's still built defensively. Be solid, keep teams out, work on trying to keep a clean sheet, especially against a Brighton team that hasn't been that great in front of goal in recent weeks. So Wilfredden, O'Shea, Greaves, be competitive, fight hard, keep the ball away from João Pedro, and keep the ball out into the wide areas. I think Brighton struggle with width. They don't create well in wide areas, so force them out wide. So those 3 centre-halves, a massive game required from those guys up there. And obviously supporting Delap up top, whether it be Smodics, Broadhead in the wide areas. You've got to facilitate Delap and his chance opportunity on the counter-attack. They're a good counter-attacking side. They're not a great counter-attacking side, but that's going to have to be the avenue in this game here, because we know Brighton are good on the ball. Last time they produced a fantastic 1-1 draw versus Arsenal. When in the second half, they got in the ball, they kept possession of the football. That midfield was much more solid and competitive. But again, I want to see more from the wide spaces. Matoma, Adingra, Gruder, whoever plays in the wide space has to be much better, because outside of João Pedro in the middle, it looks very, very blunt for Brighton. So wide areas, those fullbacks and wingers have to be much better if they want to get a result here versus very, very defensively orientated Ipswich side. For me, the difference maker simply is going to be João Pedro. When he's on the ball, if he's force-fed the ball, if he gets chances, he'll find the back of the net. He's the quality player between the two sides. If he has the more opportunities, they'll win the game. If Delap has more opportunities for Ipswich, they'll win the game. It's a bit of a toss of a coin here. I've gone there with the Brighton win on the road. I think they back up that Arsenal performance with another good one here. I've gone with a 2-1 Brighton win against Ipswich. That brings us to our final game at Old Trafford. Manchester United take on Southampton. United obviously with a fantastic week. They get a hard-working 2-2 draw versus Liverpool at Anfield, and they back it up with a heroic 10-man win on penalties versus Arsenal in the FA Cup. But it's about continuing that performance, continue that fighting spirit here in this next game, because the stats don't really lie. It's only 10, no clean sheet in the last 10 games, 3 goals scored in the last 5 games. There needs to be more quality at either end of the pitch. We're seeing it. We're seeing more fight from the side, but against Southampton, you have to show your quality. And I feel like, for me, it's that diamond, that triangle, or that square you want to call it. It's going to be Diallo, Fernandes, Manu, and Ugarte. They are the players that are going to control the game. They're going to get the possession for Manchester United. They'll make things happen. If they're firing like they have been in recent games, United win this game comfortably. But if they're slightly off it, or if there's had to be some rotation, or there's some tired legs in there, Southampton can get on top of the game. They can play their possession style of football. Then we can see a bit of a closer battle. Looking at Southampton, obviously the 5-0 loss last time out in the Premier League to Brentford. It has been grim. They've lacked quality. They've lacked the ability to break down teams. They're not good enough defensively. It's only 1 point in their last 5 games. But as I said, possession could be their avenue to make this game interesting. United aren't that great on the ball. They can be wasteful. They can be good at in transition. And they can give away the ball more often than not. So if Southampton can keep possession of the football, tire United out by chasing them around off the back of 120 minutes and a penalty shootout in the FA Cup, they could just nick something here. We know United aren't in great touch. They've fought hard, but they're not in great, performance-wise. They haven't put together a full 90 minutes of elite-level football, so they can be got at. And I think magic moments up top for the likes of Dibbling, Onuachu, potentially could make things happen. Do I see it happening, though? No, not really. I think United have got that mentality back. It might be an ugly watch, but they'll get over the line here for me. I've gone with a 2-0 United win. I think Fernandes and Joshua Zirkzee make the difference in this one here for me with the 2 goals. So that brings the prediction video to an end for match week 21 here. Thank you for joining me, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What are some of your predictions? What's some of your big games here for the midweek action? And who are some of the difference makers in terms of players on either side of the pitch? If you enjoyed the video, guys, be sure to smash a like on it. Subscribe to the Players In channel for videos, podcasts, reaction content here in the channel. And press that post notification bell so you know when we upload here in the channel. With that being said, I hope you have a great day. Enjoy the midweek football action. And I'll see you guys in the video very, very soon. Till next time, guys. See you later.